Welcome to the Gut 360 podcast. I'm your host, Eli Brecher, a Registered Associate Nutritionist on a mission to empower you to transform the health of your mind, body, and gut. This podcast is the place where we share nutrition tips, mindset tools, and actionable steps to help you thrive on your journey to a healthier gut and a happier you. If you're ready to get into the driver's seat of your own health and unlock your full potential, you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you're here.
Welcome back to your weekly dose of Monday morning gut health inspiration and education. On today's episode of the Gut 360 podcast, we're talking all about the FoodMood Connection and how you can eat to support your mental health. I'm sharing my top 6 nutrients to include in your diet to support your mental health. Plus, make sure you stick around to the end when I'll be sharing my very own mood-boosting grocery list. So put the kettle on, pour yourself a cup of coffee or a matcha, my personal preference, or throw your trainers on and go and get some fresh air while you listen to today's episode. That's a bonus tip to go boost your mood before this episode has even started. We all know that our diet plays a fundamental role in our physical health, but as time goes on, we're learning more and more about how diet can also play a role in our mental health, so much so that we now refer to the gut as the second brain. What we eat affects our gut microbiome. That's the trillions of living microbes that are in our guts, and they have so many functions in the body, including producing certain neurotransmitters that send signals to the brain to regulate sleep, pain, appetite, mood, and emotions. And when we talk about the gut-brain axis, we mean this two-way connection between the gut and the brain. So one of these neurotransmitters is called serotonin, and that's also known as the happy hormone. We produce 95% of that serotonin inside our gut. Low levels of serotonin have even been linked with conditions like depression and anxiety, so it's really important that our gut is in tip-top health. When it comes to the FoodMood Connection, there is some evidence that certain dietary patterns may help reduce the symptoms of depression and anxiety and support your mood in general. And quite a few studies have found links between the Mediterranean diet and a lower risk of depressive symptoms. Now, when we talk about the Mediterranean diet, we generally mean eating plenty of vegetables and fruits, fish, nuts, legumes, and olive oil, and limiting your intake of fried foods, processed meats, and sugary foods. There are certain specific foods and nutrients that may also be able to help reduce stress and boost your mood. But before we break it down and look at the 6 key nutrients that may be able to help reduce your stress and stabilize your mood, it's so important to emphasize that it's our overall dietary pattern that ultimately will make a difference, rather than just eating one specific food. So the first nutrient to pay attention to is omega-3 fatty acids, especially DHA for brain health. And these fats make up 20% of your brain's weight. And you can get your omega-3s in the diet from oily fish, including salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. Now, if you don't eat fish, you can also get omega-3s from walnuts, flax seeds, and chia seeds, but plant-based omega-3 is less bioavailable. That means the body doesn't absorb it quite as well, so you need to eat more of it to get the same amount of omega-3 as you would from fish. Omega-3s are really important for brain signaling. They can help reduce inflammation, and they may help reduce depressive disorders, although we do need more studies to confirm this. The second nutrient to pay attention to is tryptophan. Tryptophan is an amino acid, and it's what we call a precursor to serotonin, the happy hormone. And that just means it's converted in the body to become serotonin. Sources of tryptophan include turkey, salmon, spinach, nuts, eggs, and soy products. The third nutrient is B vitamins, and B vitamins are vital for brain health. B6 is involved in converting tryptophan to serotonin, and B12 is needed for dopamine production. And you can get the B vitamins from various different sources. Things like chicken, beef, fish, chickpeas, potatoes, bananas, and another source is whole grains, so things like oats, brown rice, and quinoa. Whole grains also help to stabilize your blood sugar, which in turn has a positive effect on your mood balance, so that's a nice double whammy. Now, B12 you can only get from animal products, so meat, fish, eggs, and dairy. So if you do follow a plant-based or vegan diet, then it's definitely worth considering a B12 supplement. The fourth nutrient to consider for your mental health is vitamin D, and vitamin D may help increase your serotonin levels. And deficiency in vitamin D has actually been associated with an increased risk of depression. Now, the best source of vitamin D is the sunshine because it's absorbed through our skin. It can also be found in certain foods like tinned fish with bones, like salmon, egg yolks, and fortified products such as milk and plant-based milks as well. But it's not found in very high amounts in food. And in the UK, we definitely don't get enough sunlight to meet our needs between October and March. So everyone is recommended to take a vitamin D supplement of 10 micrograms a day throughout the winter months. The fifth nutrient that can benefit your mental health is polyphenols, and these are compounds found in a range of plant-based foods, especially berries. Most of the research here has been done on blueberries, and it's also in dark chocolate and tea, so black tea, green tea. And we know that polyphenol-rich foods can increase the blood flow to the brain, and that's associated with better concentration, attention, memory function, and cognitive flexibility. So you can improve your performance through eating these types of foods. And number 6 is choline, and this is one that doesn't get enough airtime. Eggs are really rich in this chemical called choline, and choline makes up a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, which is essential in the brain for memory and learning. And this is another thing that can be tricky to get in people who aren't eating animal foods. So eggs are also great for B vitamins and a source of protein as well. Now, I know in the intro I said I'd give you 6 nutrients, but I'm going to give you a bonus one that's just come to mind. So the 7th and final nutrient that we're going to focus on today for our mental health is fibre. Now, as you probably know, fibre is amazing for supporting our gut microbiome, which in turn supports our mental health. And we get it in vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, beans, legumes, and whole grains. One particular type of fibre that's great for our gut health is resistant starch, so things like cooked and cooled potatoes. So when you cook and cool a carbohydrate like this, you make it resistant to digestion, but it ends up being a great source of food for the gut bacteria. And when your gut microbes feast on fibre, they then make these beneficial compounds, including short-chain fatty acids, which may influence the brain and be really supportive of our mental health as well. So those are 7 different nutrients that you should focus on to support your mental health. And there are, of course, others beyond the ones we've talked about. But another important area that we need to move on to discussing when it comes to our mental health is alcohol. Alcohol affects lots of different neurotransmitters, including dopamine and serotonin. It affects a lot of the brain. And now what we know from the research is that a very small amount of alcohol, I'm talking around a small glass of wine or even a bit less than that a day, may be somewhat supportive of brain health. People who drink a little bit of alcohol tend to have a lower risk of dementia than those who never drink at all, which is interesting. But it is so important to emphasize that very few people actually drink that little in reality. And as soon as you get past that tipping point of around 1 glass of wine, it quickly becomes neurotoxic and it can be damaging to the brain. So it goes without saying you should 100% avoid binge drinking. Try and have at least 2 alcohol-free days a week, if not more. And definitely do not go over the NHS guidelines for alcohol. Alcohol is a depressant and it also disturbs our sleep. So you might find that having a drink knocks you out, makes you sleepy, has that sedative effect. But the problem is the quality of your sleep after drinking is much poorer. And alcohol also raises our stress response, which we know is bad for our brain, as well as our gut health, of course. And we know there's that big link between stress and gut health. Alcohol can also increase your anxiety the next day, and many people don't even make that association between the two, but it really can impact our mental health. Now, as promised at the start, I'm going to share my mood-boosting grocery list with you guys. But first, I just want to emphasize that everyone is different when it comes to their health, both physical and mental. And it's about so much more than just the food on our plates. So I always take a personalized 360-degree approach when working with my one-to-one clients, looking at not only their nutrition, but also their stress, their exercise, healthy habits, medical history, and their general lifestyle. So if that sounds like something that might be helpful for you, you can make an appointment with me in clinic via the link in the show notes or my Instagram bio at Eli Brecher Nutrition. So onto my mood boosting grocery list, here are a few foods to add to your shopping list this week. First up, we have avocado. This can help to lower your blood pressure and your stress response thanks to the phytochemicals it contains, as well as fibre and the healthy fats in there. Then we've got leafy greens, so broccoli, kale, cabbage, spinach. These have magnesium and B vitamins in them, which can calm your stress and improve your mood, the magnesium. And then the B vitamins can reduce fatigue and also improve your cognition. Next up, we've got fermented foods. I rave about these all the time. So sauerkraut, live yogurt, and miso. And these contain probiotic bacteria to support the gut-brain axis. That's that two-way communication pathway we talked about at the start between the gut and the brain. Then we've got berries, and berries contain a group of flavonoids called anthocyanins. And studies have actually shown that these anthocyanins can help reduce scores of depression. I would also be adding chicken and turkey to your shopping list. They're rich in tryptophan, which, as we mentioned, is the precursor to serotonin. So it's converted in the body into our happy hormone. Then we've got things like kiwi, broccoli, citrus fruits, strawberries. These are all high in vitamin C. And we know that low vitamin C has been linked with high cortisol, which is your stress hormone. The next one on here is my favorite food. You can probably guess if you know me. It's dark chocolate. And dark chocolate is high in both antioxidants and magnesium, both of which can help lower your stress levels. The next one is oily fish, which I want you to be eating at least twice a week. And as we mentioned earlier when we were talking about omega-3, that includes salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. And these can help improve your mood and your brain health. And lastly on the list is chia seeds and flax seeds, which can provide you with some plant-based omega-3, which is key for your brain health, as well as fibre to support your gut. As I always say, don't forget that improving your gut health and your mental health takes time, dedication, and consistency. It is not an overnight quick fix. And if you're looking for some more tips on this, go back a few episodes on this podcast and listen to the one titled How to Improve Your Gut Health. If you have any questions about today's episode, I would love to hear from you on Instagram. My handle's at Eli Brecher Nutrition. And before I finish, if you have ever enjoyed listening or taken away any value from the Gut 360 podcast, I know you hear this all the time, but please take 1 second to rate and leave a review wherever you're listening to this, because it massively helps my podcast to reach a wider audience and fulfill our mission to help more people live healthier, happier lives. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and I will be back in your ears next Monday, so make sure you click the follow button so you don't miss it.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Gut 360 podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast or learned something new, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. And make sure you hit follow for weekly episodes every Monday morning. Do share this podcast with anyone who you think it may benefit. And for your chance to win a free online nutrition consultation with me, just take a screenshot of this episode and share it on your Instagram stories, tagging at Eli Brecher Nutrition so I can repost you. See you back here next Monday.